Introduction to Gnosis. Samael Aun Weor. Preface. There are two bodies of doctrine, the doctrine of the eye and the doctrine of the heart. There is external knowledge and internal or introspective knowledge, intellectual or learned knowledge, and conscious or lived knowledge. Intellectual or learned knowledge serves for coexistence and for obtaining our sustenance. Introspective knowledge and conscious knowledge of our consciousness lead us to divine knowledge, which is very important because the knower must know oneself. 5 external senses allow us to acquire the knowledge that is called materialistic, and 7 internal senses allow us to know what is called esoteric or hidden. These senses are clairvoyance, clairaudience, polyvoyance, hidden hearing, intuition, telepathy, and recall of past lives. Their organs are the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, glands in the brain, the thyroid, the Adam's apple, the heart, and the solar plexus or epigastrium, above the navel. Through these, we come to know the seven bodies of man, the physical, vital, astral, and mental, which constitute the 4 bodies of sin that are lunar and protoplasmic, and 3 more which are the bodies of will, soul, and spirit, which enrich conscious knowledge. This knowledge is alive because we make it vivid, and it constitutes what religious and philosophers call the soul. If we improve our senses, we improve our knowledge. Senses are improved when we rid ourselves of defects. If we are liars, our senses are liars. If we are rogues, our senses are too. In this culture, it is our task to eliminate our defects to improve our informers or senses. Get to know Gnostic culture, which teaches us fundamental education that covers from conception to sublime old age. Julio Medina v. First degree of Introduction to Gnosis. This is the introductory degree to Gnostic philosophical studies or the external degrees of Gnosis. It is natural for all students to begin with this degree and then proceed successively to the first, second, third degrees, etc. It must be understood that these are not the esoteric Gnostic degrees. The esoteric Gnostic degrees are received by the student when they are prepared for them. The esoteric degrees, which are the authentic Gnostic degrees, cannot be disclosed by anyone who has received them. This is prohibited. Anyone who claims, "I have so many degrees, so many initiations," is dishonest. If a person wants to be an engineer, lawyer, or doctor, they have to prepare for it. That person will go to school and study a lot. After possessing a good theoretical knowledge of the field they are studying, they will then begin to practice what they have learned. Practice brings perfection. Great sages, professionals, scientists, etc., have not only acquired good theoretical knowledge of their respective fields of study but have also put this knowledge into practice. Theory alone cannot bring anything, except intellectual enjoyment for those who understand it. It requires practice. Study this course of lessons and study it with genuine enthusiasm, with a desire to learn, with a desire to understand higher wisdom. But remember that you have to put into practice what you have learned if you want to achieve perfection in the work. Lesson 1. Success in life is necessary. If you truly want to succeed, you must begin by being honest with yourself. Acknowledge your own mistakes. When we acknowledge our own mistakes, we are on the path to correcting them. Anyone who corrects their mistakes inevitably succeeds. The businessperson who daily blames others for their own failures and never acknowledges their own mistakes will not succeed. Remember that great criminals consider themselves saints. If we visit a penitentiary, we find that no thief or criminal considers themselves guilty. Almost all say to themselves, "I am innocent." Do not fall into the same error. Have the courage to acknowledge your own mistakes. This way, you will avoid even worse consequences. Those who acknowledge their own mistakes can build a happy home. The politician, scientist, philosopher, religious person, etc., who acknowledges their own mistakes can correct them and succeed in life. If you want to succeed in life, do not criticize anyone. Those who criticize others are weak, while those who self-criticize constantly are like giants. Criticism is useless because it injures the pride of others and provokes the resistance of the victim, who then seeks to justify themselves. Criticism inevitably provokes a reaction against its author. If you truly want to succeed, heed this advice: do not criticize anyone. The man or woman who knows how to live without criticizing anyone does not provoke resistance or reactions from others, and thus, a successful and progressive environment is created. On the other hand, those who criticize others gather enemies. Remember that human beings are full of pride and vanity, and this inherent pride and vanity in them produce a reaction, resentment, hatred, etc., directed against the one who criticizes them. Therefore, the one who criticizes others inevitably fails. Those who want to correct others should begin by correcting themselves. This is a better and less dangerous approach. The world is filled with neurotic individuals. Neurotic types are critical, irritable, and intolerable. There are many causes of neurosis: impatience, anger, selfishness, pride, etc. Between the spirit and the body, there is a mediator, the nervous system. Take care of your nervous system. When your nervous system is irritated by something that exhausts you, it is better to avoid it. Work intensely but with moderation. Remember that excessive work leads to fatigue. If you ignore fatigue and continue with excessive work, then fatigue is replaced by excitement. When excitement becomes morbid, it turns into neurasthenia. It is necessary to alternate work with pleasant rest to avoid the danger of falling into neurasthenia. Every employer who wants to succeed must be cautious of the danger of neurasthenia. A neurasthenic employer criticizes everything and becomes unbearable. The neurasthenic person abhors patience and, as an employer, becomes the executioner of their employees. Workers who have to work under the orders of a neurasthenic and critical employer end up hating their work and the employer. No discontented worker works with enthusiasm. Many times, companies fail because the workers are dissatisfied and therefore do not work efficiently. The neurasthenic, as a worker or office employee, becomes rebellious and is eventually dismissed from their job. Every neurasthenic worker looks for the opportunity to criticize the employer. Every employer has pride and vanity, and it is clear that they feel offended when their employees criticize them. A worker who constantly criticizes the employer eventually loses their job. Take care of your nervous system. Work in moderation. Enjoy yourself in a healthy way. Do not criticize anyone. Try to see the best in all human beings. Exercise to control anger. Feeling angry or filled with rage. Are you nervous? Reflect for a moment. Remember that anger can lead to gastric ulcers. Control your anger through breathing. Inhale very slowly, do not inhale through your mouth, inhale through your nose, keeping your mouth tightly closed, the vital air while mentally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, hold your breath while mentally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale the breath very slowly through your mouth while mentally counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Repeat the exercise until the anger subsides. Lesson 2. A great author deduced that humans need 8 important things in life: health and the preservation of life, food, sleep, money and the things money can buy, life beyond, sexual satisfaction, the well-being of their children, a sense of their own importance. We synthesize these 8 things into 3. Health, money, love. If you genuinely want to acquire these 3 things, you must study and practice everything this course teaches you. We will show you the path to success. The power of thought. You must know that there is a force immensely superior to electricity and dynamite, and that is the power of thought. When you think of a distant friend or a family member, your brain emits mental waves. These waves are like those of radio stations. These waves travel through space and reach the mind of the person you are thinking about. Scientists are beginning to experiment with the power of thought. They will soon invent the thoughtometer, an instrument to measure the mental force of each person. In the future, optics will advance a bit further, and then the photomentometer will be invented, an instrument that will allow us to see and measure the mental force radiating from the human brain. You need to know that just as humans have a mind, so does the entire universe. There is human mind and cosmic mind. Earth is condensed mind. The entire universe is condensed mind. Waves of universal mind saturate infinite space. The engineer who is going to build a house first creates a mental project. They build it in the mind, project it onto the blueprint, and finally materialize it. Thus, every object, every construction, first existed in the mind. Nothing can exist in the physical or material world we live in without first existing in the world of the mind. It is necessary to learn how to concentrate and project the mind with precision and great force. You must know that concentrating the mind means focusing your attention on a single thing. When you concentrate on a distant friend, when you truly focus your attention on that friend, you can be sure that your brain emits powerful mental waves that will inevitably reach your friend's brain. The important thing is that you truly concentrate. No other thought should be capable of distracting you. You must learn to concentrate the mind. You are studying this course, and we believe you want to succeed in life and have health, money, and love. Reflect for a moment, learn to harness the power of thought. Those who learn to control the power of thought are on the path to success, just as an arrow guided by the hand of an expert archer hits its target. Remember that the world is a product of the mind. You are what you are because of your mind. You can completely change yourself by using the power of thought. The poor and miserable are so because they choose to be, and they sustain their poverty and misery with their minds. The rich and powerful are as they are because they made themselves that way with their minds. Each person is what they want to be with the power of the mind. Everyone projects into the world of cosmic mind what they are and what they want to be. Mental projects materialize, and then we have our practical life, either rich or poor, happy or miserable. Everything depends on the kind of mental projections that have materialized. Just as a cloud condenses into water and water condenses into ice, so does mental force. First clouds, projects, then water, circumstances, project development, and finally hard ice, the project turned into concrete facts. If the project has been well done and with sufficient strength, if the facts or circumstances have been wonderful, the result will be victory. The perfect condensation of the project is victory. The basic factors for the success of a project are 3. Mental strength, favorable circumstances, intelligence. Mental strength. Without mental strength, it is impossible to achieve the crystallization of a project, commercial, etc. It is necessary for our students to learn to control mental strength. But first, it is essential for the student to learn to relax their physical body. It is essential to know how to relax the body to achieve perfect thought concentration. You can relax the body while sitting in a comfortable chair or lying down in the corpse pose, heels touching each other, arms alongside the body, etc. Of the two positions, the latter, corpse pose, is the best. Imagine that your feet are subtle, and that a group of little dwarves is emerging from them. Imagine that your calves are full of playful little dwarves, emerging from one to another, making the muscles flexible and elastic as they come out. Continue with your knees, performing the same exercise. Proceed with your thighs, genital organs, abdomen, heart, throat, facial muscles, and head in sequential order, imagining that these little dwarves are escaping from each of these body parts, leaving the muscles completely relaxed. Thought concentration. When the body is perfectly relaxed, concentrating your thoughts becomes easy and simple. Focus your attention on the business you have projected. Visualize the entire business vividly, the people involved with the business. Identify yourself with those people. Speak as if you were them, mentally say what you would like those people to say. Forget about yourself and change your human personality for the human personality of those people, acting as you would like those people to act. In this way, you will create powerful thought waves that will traverse space to reach the brains of the people associated with the business. If the concentration is perfect, success will be inevitable. The law of karma. This law is known in the East. Millions of people worldwide know this law because it is universal. This law operates throughout the universe. If you misuse the power of thought, the law of karma will fall upon you, and you will be horribly punished. Mental energy is a gift from God and should only be used for good purposes and with good intentions. It is just for the poor to improve their economic situation. But it is not just to use mental strength to harm others. Before doing mental work to achieve the crystallization of a project, reflect and meditate. If you are going to use mental strength to harm others, it is better not to do it because the terrible ray of cosmic justice will inevitably fall upon you like a bolt of vengeance. Favorable circumstances. Thought and action must go hand in hand. The crystallization of a project is only possible when circumstances are favorable. Learn how to determine favorable circumstances for your business. Sigmund Freud, the great psychologist, said that everything humans do in life has two fundamental causes: 1. Sexual drive, 2. The desire to be great. Every human being operates under the influence of sexual drive. Everyone wants to be appreciated. Nobody likes to be scorned. If you want to surround yourself with good circumstances for the crystallization of your business, recognize the good qualities in others. Stimulate the good qualities of others, do not humiliate or despise anyone. It is essential to provide nourishment to everyone in their work, trade, or profession. Through appreciation and encouragement, we can awaken enthusiasm in all those who interact with us. Learn to praise your peers wisely without falling into flattery. People feel comforted by the nourishment of esteem. Be courteous, do not criticize anyone. In this way, you will create a favorable environment for the crystallization of your business. Sincere appreciation of others' merits is one of the great secrets of success. It is necessary to break the bad habit of constantly talking about ourselves. It is urgent to use words to strengthen and encourage all the good qualities of others. Gnostic students must abandon the terrible habit of constantly mentioning themselves and recounting their own lives. People who only talk about themselves become insufferable. Such individuals fall into misery because people become tired of them. Never say I. Always say, we. The term we has more cosmic strength. The term I is selfish and annoys everyone who comes into contact with us. The I is selfish. The I must be dissolved. The I creates conflicts and problems. Repeat we. Every morning, before getting up, say with strength and energy, we are strong. We are rich. We are filled with luck and harmony. OM, OM, OM. Pray this simple prayer and you will see that you will be successful in everything. Put great devotion into this prayer. Have faith. Exercise. Hang a silk thread from the ceiling of your room. At the end of this thread, there should be a needle. Concentrate on this needle and try to move it with the power of thought. When mental waves are developed, they can move this needle. Work for 10 minutes a day on this practice. At first, the needle hanging from the silk thread will not move. Over time, you will see that the needle oscillates and moves strongly. This exercise is for developing mental strength. Remember that mental waves travel through space and pass from one brain to another. Lesson 3. The great lawyer José M. Césares said the following: there is no luck or misfortune, success or failure, everything is the vibration of the ether. By learning the management of the tattvas, all the affairs of life can be favorably resolved. You need a precise and infallible system to obtain money, a scientific system that never fails. You need to seize favorable circumstances to achieve the crystallization of all your projects, commercial, etc. Remember, tattva is the vibration of the ether. In this age of radio, television, and guided missiles, it would be absurd to deny the vibration of the ether. A great sage said, life is born from radiation, subsists through radiation, and is suppressed by any oscillatory imbalance. You have the right to succeed. The spirit must overcome matter. We cannot accept misery. Remember that misery is the lot of failed spirits. When the spirit triumphs over matter, the result is light, splendor, complete success in the economic, social, and spiritual aspects of life. You need to know the law of universal vibration. The study of the Taitwas is of utmost importance. Taitway, this term is Indo-Aryan, is the vibration of the ether. Now, scientists say that there is no ether and that the only reality is the magnetic field. We could also say that there is no matter, and the only reality is energy. These are just words, a matter of terminology. The magnetic field is the ether. Everything comes from the ether, everything returns to the ether. Sir Oliver Lodge, the great British scientist, said, "It is the ether that, through the various modifications of its equilibrium, gives rise to all the phenomena of the universe, from the impalpable light to the tremendous masses of the worlds." Prana. Prana is cosmic energy. Prana is vibration, electrical movement, light and heat, universal magnetism, life. Prana is the life that pulsates in every atom and in every sun. Prana is the life of the ether. The great life, that is prana, transforms into an extremely divine blue substance. The name of this substance is Akash. Akash is a marvelous substance that fills all infinite space and, when modified, becomes the ether. Interestingly, the ether, when modified, becomes what we call Taitwas. The study of the vibrations of the ether, Taitwas, is essential. Remember that businesses, love, health, etc., are controlled by cosmic vibrations. If you know the vibrational laws of life, if you know the Taitwas, you can make a lot of money. Remember that money itself is neither good nor bad, it depends on how you use it. If you use it for good, it is good, and if you use it for evil, it is bad. Get a lot of money and use it for the good of humanity. There are 7 main Taitwas that you must learn to manage to succeed in life. No Gnostic should live in poverty. It is necessary for you to know the names of the 7 Taitwas. These names are Sanskrit terms. It may be a bit difficult for you to learn these names, but remember that it is worth studying to succeed in life. Names of the Taitwas: Akash is the principle of the ether. Vayu is the etheric principle of air. Tejas is the etheric principle of fire. Prithvi is the etheric principle of the earth element. Apas is the etheric principle of water. There are 2 secret Taitwas called Adi and Shamadai, which vibrate during the dawn and are excellent for internal meditation. They lead to ecstasy or Shamadai. We will not elaborate on these Taitwas now because they are only useful for advanced students. Taitwic schedule. The vibration of the Taitwas begins with the sunrise. Each Taitway vibrates for 24 minutes within a 2-hour period. Akash is the first Taitway to vibrate, followed by Vayu, Tejas, Prithvi, Apas in sequential order. After 2 hours, Akash vibrates again, and the Taitway sequence repeats in the same order. Taitwas vibrate both day and night. It is important to know the time of sunrise. The Buccelli Astrological Yearbook is one of the calendars that provides the time of sunrise for various locations in Latin America. Some newspapers, especially in the United States, and magazines indicate the time of sunrise. Galvin's calendar is also useful for this purpose. Properties of the Taitwas. Akash is good for meditation exclusively. We strongly advise against making business or romantic appointments during this time, as they will inevitably fail. This Taitway leads to serious mistakes. If you work during this period, you must be very careful. Artists should avoid work during Akash. Anything initiated in Akash will fail. Akash is the Taitway of death. Vayu. Anything related to speed and movement corresponds to Vayu, the principle of air. Wines, air, aerial navigation, etc., are related to Vayu. People tend to enjoy speaking ill of others, deceiving, stealing, etc. during this period. Aviation accidents usually happen during this period, and suicides are stimulated by this Taitway. We advise against getting married during this period because the marriage is likely to be short-lived. Simple and quick businesses are good in Vayu, but complex and long-term businesses are destined to fail. It is good to engage in intellectual work during this period. Great yogis can mentally manipulate this Taitway and use it intelligently to float in the air when they desire. Tejas. This tateway is hot because it is the etheric principle of fire. During the period when this tateway is active, you may feel more heat. You can bathe in cold water during Tejas without getting cold. Do not argue with anyone during Tejas because the consequences can be serious. You should use the Tejas hour to work intensively. We advise against getting married during Tejas because you will likely have constant disputes with your spouse. The most terrible explosions and accidents happen during the Tejas tateway period. Prithvi. This is the tateway of success in life. If you want to succeed in business, do it during Prithvi. If you want good health, eat and drink during Prithvi. Marriages that take place during Prithvi are happy for a lifetime. Any event, conference, business, or appointment held during Prithvi will be a complete success. Prithvi represents love, charity, and benevolence. Apas. This is the principle of water and is the opposite of Tejas, fire. This tateway is wonderful for buying goods. It is also excellent for business, and you can make a lot of money if you know how to use this tateway. Buy lottery tickets during Apas. Water travels are good during Apas. Rains that begin in Apas are often long and heavy. The Apas tateway works by concentrating and attracting. Remember that you need to know the exact time of sunrise to guide yourself with the tatwas. Always have a good wristwatch or pocket watch and make practical use of the tatwas in your life. Practice. Sit down at a table with your face toward the east, place your elbows on the table, and proceed as follows. Insert the thumbs of both your right and left hands between your ears. Use your index fingers to cover your eyes, your middle fingers to close your nostrils, and your ring and little fingers to seal your lips. Inhale slowly while counting to 20. Hold your breath and count from 1 to 20. Exhale slowly, counting from 1 to 20. You need to remove your middle fingers from your nostrils to inhale and exhale. But during breath retention, your middle fingers should tightly close your nostrils. During breath retention, try to visualize the tatwas with your third eye. The third eye resides between your eyebrows. At first, you may not see anything, but after some time, you will be able to see and recognize them by their colors. Akash is black, and its ruling planet is Saturn. Vayu is bluish-green, and its ruling planet is Mercury. Tejas is red like fire, and its ruling planet is Mars. Prithvi is golden yellow, and it is influenced by Jupiter and the Sunday. Apas is white, and its ruling planets are Venus and the Moon. Lesson 4. To succeed in life, you must become a fisher of men. Jesus chose his disciples from humble fishermen. They had to stop fishing for fish and become fishers of men. Do you want to achieve success, power, and glory? Listen to this advice: put on the hook the bait that the fish likes. Do not discuss with others the things that interest you. What is yours alone. Unfortunately, human beings are selfish and only want to know about things that interest them. If you talk to others about the things they desire and want, you will positively influence them and get what you need from them. You must learn to see the other person's point of view and help them resolve their conflicts. This is also how we solve our problems. Become an altruistic and kind-hearted person. Help others with your advice, strive to understand others' points of view, and you will be able to fish abundantly. When we begin to understand others, we also take the first steps on the path to happiness and success. You need to study and understand the functions of the mind. Those who know the mental mechanism are capable of controlling it. Much has been said about mental strength, and many schools teach how to concentrate the mind. No one can intelligently deny the power of thought. This power is composed of waves and radioactive forms that travel from one brain to another. You must develop this wonderful force, but we must emphasize that thought and action must be wisely combined if we want to succeed in life. Mental strength works wonders when based on sincerity and truth. Do not try to deceive others. Do not use mental concentration to deceive others, as failure will inevitably follow for you. Mental strength works wonders when used to help others. By helping others, we benefit ourselves. That is the law. Do you need to succeed in something important? Sit in a comfortable armchair, relax your muscles, focus on the business that interests you. Imagine the business in full success. Identify yourself with others, try to understand their point of view, mentally advise them, showing them the advantages of the business they are going to do with you. This way, mental waves will penetrate deep into the minds of others and work wonders. 1 hour of perfect concentration is sufficient to ensure success in a business. Every merchant has the right to make money, but what you sell must be good, useful, and necessary for others. Do not try to deceive others because you will deceive yourself. Many street vendors roam the streets offering their goods in vain. No one is interested in those goods. People even get annoyed when they encounter these vendors. The mistake of these vendors is that they only think of themselves and talk about themselves. If they learn to see the perspective of others, they would inevitably succeed. It is necessary to understand that every human being has an I that wants to stand out, make itself felt, and rise to the top of the ladder. This is precisely the weak side of the human being. You also have this weak side. Do not fall into the same mistakes as others. Never say I. Always say we. Those who can control themselves can also control others. Intelligently hint at what you want, but do not say, I want. Remember that others are not interested in what you want. Let others prepare your idea as if it were their own. Provide the elements for this preparation very cleverly. Let others develop your idea. You can be sure that others are happy to develop your idea. People like to feel important, that is the weakness of the ego. Exploit this weakness. Never feel important, and you will be important. Strive to dissolve the ego, and you will be truly happy. All success in life depends on the ability to deal with other people. It is necessary to abandon selfishness and cultivate Christ-centeredness. It is essential to work for the common good. It is indispensable to dissolve the ego and always think as we. The term we has more cosmic force than the selfish I. All great failures in life are due to the ego. When the ego wants to assert itself, stand out, or climb to the top of the ladder, the reactions of other people follow, and the result of such mental reactions is failure. Remember that the ego is energetic. The ego is desire. The ego is memory. The ego is fear, violence, hatred, cravings, fanaticism, jealousy, distrust, etc. You need to deeply explore all the depths of your mind because within you, there is something called I, myself, ego, etc. If you want to succeed in life, you must dissolve the ego. If you want to dissolve the ego, you must disintegrate all your defects. If you want to disintegrate all your defects, do not condemn or justify them, understand them. When we condemn a defect, we hide it in the deep recesses of the mind. When we justify a defect, we strengthen it terribly. But when we understand a particular defect, we completely disintegrate it. When the ego dissolves, we are filled with fullness and happiness. When the ego dissolves, the inner self, the spirit, love, express themselves within us and through us. Remember that God, the spirit, the inner self of every man and woman, and every creature, is never the ego. The self is divine, eternal, and perfect. The ego is Satan from biblical legend. The ego is not the body. The ego is energetic and diabolical. In the ego lies the root of misery, poverty, failure, disappointments, unsatisfied desires, violent desires, hatred, envy, jealousy, etc. Change your life right now. It is urgent for you to understand the need to eliminate all your defects to dissolve the ego, Satan, the cause of all failures. When the ego dissolves, only the self, God, happiness, remains within us. God is peace, abundance, happiness, and perfection. Practice. A great man, after studying himself, discovered that he had 12 defects that were harming him. This man said, just as it is impossible to catch 10 hares at the same time, because a hunter trying to do this will not catch any, it is also impossible to eliminate my 12 defects all at once. This man came to the conclusion that it would be better to catch one hair first and then another, to eliminate one defect and then another. He resolved to dedicate 2 months to each defect. When the man reached 24 months, he no longer had the defects. He had eliminated all 12 defects that were preventing him from succeeding. The result was wonderful. This man became the first citizen of the United States. His name, Benjamin Franklin. Imitate this character. Examine yourself and see how many defects you have. Count them, enumerate them. Then dedicate 2 months to each defect, in successive order, until you eliminate them all. Sit in a comfortable armchair. And pray to your inner God like this. You who are my true self, you who are my inner God, enlighten me, help me. Help me see my own defects. Amen. Concentrate on this prayer until you reach deep sleep. Try to discover all your defects. We advise you to read the Bible. In the 4 Gospels, you will find the words of the Divine Master. There you will see the virtues you need. There you will discover the virtues that are lacking in you. Where a virtue is lacking, there exists a defect. Lesson 5. Money. Why has money assumed such immense importance in our lives? Do we exclusively depend on it for our psychological happiness? All human beings need bread, shelter, and refuge, this is known. But why is it that something so natural and simple, even for the birds of the air, has assumed such tremendous and terrifying importance and significance? Money has taken on such exaggerated and disproportionate value because we psychologically depend on it for our well-being. Money feeds our personal vanity, gives us social prestige, and provides us with the means to attain power. Money has been used by the mind for entirely different purposes than those it has inherently, including covering our immediate physical needs. Money is being used for psychological purposes, and that is why money has taken on exaggerated and disproportionate importance in the mind. We need money to have bread, shelter, and refuge, this is obvious. But when money becomes a psychological necessity, when we use it for purposes other than what it inherently represents, when we depend on it to gain fame, prestige, social status, etc., money takes on exaggerated importance in the mind, and this is the origin of the struggle and conflict to possess it. It is logical that we need money to satisfy our physical needs, for bread, shelter, and refuge. However, if we exclusively depend on money for our happiness and personal satisfaction, then we are the most miserable beings on earth. When we deeply understand that money's sole purpose is to provide us with bread, shelter, and refuge, we spontaneously set intelligent limits on it. The result is that money no longer assumes the exaggerated importance it has when it becomes a psychological necessity. Money, in and of itself, is neither good nor bad. Everything depends on how we use it. If we use it for good, it is good. If we use it for evil, it is bad. We need to deeply understand the true nature of sensation and satisfaction. A mind that wants to comprehend the truth must be free from these obstacles. If we truly want to liberate thought from the constraints of sensation and satisfaction, we must begin with those sensations that are most familiar to us and establish the proper foundation for understanding there. Sensations have their rightful place, and when we deeply understand them on all levels of the mind, they do not assume the foolish distortion they have now. Many people think that if everything were in accordance with the political party to which they belong, and for which they always fight, then we would have a happy world, full of abundance, peace, and perfection. That is a false concept because none of that can exist until we have individually understood the true meaning of things. Humans are too internally poor, and that is why they need money and things for their personal sensation and satisfaction. When someone is internally poor, they seek money and things externally to complete themselves and seek satisfaction. That is why money and material things have taken on disproportionate value, and people are willing to steal, exploit, and lie constantly. This is the reason for the struggle between capital and labor, between employers and workers, between exploiters and the exploited, etc. All political changes are useless without first understanding our own internal poverty. Economic systems can be changed over and over, and social systems can alternate, but if we have not deeply understood the intimate nature of our inner poverty, individuals will always create new means and ways to obtain personal satisfaction at the expense of the peace of others. It is urgent to deeply understand the intimate nature of this self if we truly want to be rich internally. Those who are rich internally are incapable of exploiting others, stealing, and lying. Those who are rich internally are free from the constraints of personal sensation and satisfaction. Those who are rich internally have found happiness. We need money, that's true. But it is necessary to deeply understand our proper relationship with it. Neither the ascetic nor the greedy covetous person has ever understood what our proper relationship with money is. Renouncing money or coveting it will not help us understand our proper relationship with it. We need understanding to intelligently assess our own material needs without excessively relying on money. When we understand our proper relationship with money, the pain of detachment ends, and the terrible suffering caused by competition is eliminated. We must learn to differentiate between our immediate physical needs and the psychological dependence on things. Psychological dependence on things leads to exploitation and slavery. We need money to meet our immediate physical needs. Unfortunately, need often turns into greed. The psychological self, perceiving its own emptiness and misery, often gives money and things a different value than they have, an exaggerated and absurd value. This is how the self wants to become rich externally, as it is internally poor and miserable. The self wants to make itself felt, to dazzle others with things and money. Today, our relationship with money is based on greed. We always claim need to justify greed. Greed is the secret cause of hatred and the world's brutalities, which often assume legal aspects. Greed is the cause of war and all the miseries of this world. If we want to end the world's greed, we must deeply understand that the world is within ourselves. We are the world. The greed of other individuals is within ourselves. In truth, all individuals live within our own consciousness. The world's greed is within the individual. Only by ending the greed we carry within us will the world's greed end. Only by understanding the complex process of greed on all levels of the mind can we experience the great reality. Practice first, lie down in a star shape with arms and legs spread to the right and left. Second, concentrate now on your own immediate physical needs. Third, meditate and reflect on each of these needs. Fourth, fall asleep trying to discover for yourself where the need ends and where greed begins. Fifth, if your practice of concentration and inner meditation is correct, in your inner vision, you will discover what your legitimate needs are and what greed is. Remember that only by deeply understanding the need and greed can you establish true foundations for the right thought process. Lesson 6. In life, you need 3 things: bread, clothing, and shelter. You should not go hungry, you need to eat. You should not be poorly dressed, it is necessary to dress well. It is not fair to spend your whole life paying rent for an apartment, you need to have a good home of your own. Reflect on all of this. It is urgent that you understand the need to live better without falling into the sin of greed. In our previous lesson, we said that it is necessary to distinguish between need and greed. You need to know where need ends and greed begins. You need to learn how to make a good impression on others. This is a very delicate art. Many ladies dress very well, sometimes with excessive luxury, and wear valuable rings on their hands, yet despite all that, they often fail to make a good impression on others. Many elegant gentlemen wear expensive suits and drive the latest model cars, but they often fail because they don't know how to make a good impression on people. Colombia's president, Dr. Olaya Herrera, captivated the people with his eternal smile. Each smile of the president represented millions of dollars, in fact. We know that a woman's smile is worth more to us than all the furs and diamonds they wear. A woman with a captivating smile makes a great impression on men. The smile of sincerity and the fragrance of courtesy work true miracles in the world of business. It is urgent to distinguish between the smile of sincerity and the mechanical smile. The smile of sincerity comes from the depths of the soul. The mechanical smile is hypocritical and sinister, it is a grimace of the devil. In man, there are two factors of discord, the soul and the devil. The soul is divine, the devil is malignant. Every good action comes from the soul, and every bad action comes from the devil. When you knock on a door to be let in, the homeowner often asks, "Who is it?" Then you answer, "It's me." This myself, is precisely the devil within us. Clairvoyants see this me as a very horrible fluidic entity that lives inside the human body. This entity leaves the body during sleep and travels far and wide, wherever its desires and passions take it. The soul is not the self. The soul is the being. Distinguish between the being and the self. The being is the soul, and the self is Satan within us. Your body does not think or desire, the body is just a suit, a garment. You think with the mind. The mind is a vehicle of the soul. However, when we are bad, the mind becomes a vehicle of the devil. The diabolical mind desires wars, creates conflicts, problems, craves vices, alcohol, adultery, fornication, greed, hypocrisy, etc. Bees enjoy working. Ants are happy working. Learn to enjoy and take pleasure in your work. A store employee who enjoys working radiates mental waves of success and progress. Then, sales increase, and the employer is happy with the employee and does not want them to leave. Worry about the success of the business where you work. It is necessary to earn your employer's affection. Learn to smile sincerely, learn to enjoy your work. If you want people to be happy with you, you must be happy with others. If you are not happy with your work and do not want to smile, we advise you to listen to good music. Remember that music works miracles. Likewise, you can change your character. When we hear good music, when we spend long periods absorbed in listening to good music, we elevate our minds to higher levels of consciousness. The mind emits waves that travel through space. These waves pass from one brain to another. Proof of the reality of these waves is found in telepathy. How often do we walk down the street, and suddenly, the memory of someone comes to mind? Then, it happens that we meet the person we remembered. This is telepathy. The mental waves of that person have reached us, and we, in turn, have perceived them. In our body, we have a true wireless system. The pineal gland, located at the back of the brain, is the thought-emitting center, and the solar plexus, located in the region of the navel, is the receiving antenna. The pineal gland is the seat of the soul, the window of Brahma. Through this window, the soul enters the body and leaves it. The pineal gland is a small gray-red tissue. This gland secretes a hormone that regulates the development of the sexual organs. After maturity, this gland degenerates into fibrous tissue that does not secrete. The pineal gland is the puzzle of the wise, the thought-emitting center. This gland is well developed in great geniuses of science, art, philosophy, etc. It is completely atrophied in idiots. Large merchants and individuals who often achieve great success in their business typically have this gland well developed. The pineal gland is intimately related to the sexual organs. The strength of the pineal gland depends on sexual potency. Men and women who squander their sexual energies foolishly fail in business because their pineal gland atrophies. A weakened pineal gland cannot emit mental waves with force. The result is failure. Be prudent. Do not waste your sexual energies foolishly. The Bible says, "You shall not fornicate." Obey this, the sixth commandment, save your sexual energies. In this way, you will strengthen your pineal gland and inevitably succeed. You will be able to emit your mental waves with strength, power, and glory. These mental waves, after reaching the receiving center, the solar plexus, of other people who come into contact with you, will bring you the success you seek. Be a winner. Always smile sincerely. Live joyfully. Work with enthusiasm and joy, and the world will be yours. Luck will smile on you wherever you go. In front of the mirror, gaze at your face carefully. Then, pray as follows. Soul of mine, you must triumph. Soul of mine, you must conquer Satan. Soul of mine, take control of my mind, my feelings, my life. You must drive away the guardian of the threshold from me. You must defeat it. You must take complete possession of me. Amen. 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 Pray this prayer 7 times, and then look in the mirror at your eyes, your pupils, the center of your pupils, the apple of your eyes. Imagine them filled with light, strength, and power. Try to penetrate with your mind into the depths of your eyes reflected in the mirror. Try to see, with your imagination, the beauty of your soul in the center of those reflected eyes. Exclaim, saying, Soul of mine, I want to see you, I want to see you, I want to see you. Persist with intensity in this exercise daily. Practice it every night before going to sleep. With this exercise, you will develop clairvoyance. Practice it for 10 minutes daily. That's all. Clairvoyance. You need to know that there is a 6th sense. This is clairvoyance. This faculty resides in the pineal gland. When you develop clairvoyance, you can read other people's thoughts like an open book. When you are clairvoyant, you can see the souls of people. When you are clairvoyant, you can see the ego of people. Then you will understand that the soul is not the ego. The ego is the Satan within us. Clairvoyance allows us to see what is beyond death. With the exercises we will give you, you will fully develop clairvoyance. You must practice these exercises. We want you to write to us, communicating all your impressions. Lesson 7. In life, people face countless problems. Each person needs to know how to intelligently solve each of these problems. We need to understand each problem. The solution to every problem lies within the problem itself. The time has come to learn how to solve problems. There are many problems: economic, social, moral, political, religious, family, etc., and we must learn to solve them intelligently. The most important thing for solving any problem is not to identify with it. We tend to identify with the problem to such an extent that we actually become the problem. The result of such identification is that we fail to solve it because one problem can never solve another problem. To solve a problem, you need a great deal of mental peace and stillness. A restless, battling, confused mind cannot solve any problem. If you have a very serious problem, do not identify with it, do not become another problem. Retreat to a peaceful place, a forest, a park, the home of a very close friend, etc. Distract yourself with something different, listen to good music, and then with a calm and still mind, in perfect peace, try to deeply understand the problem, remembering that the solution to every problem lies within the problem itself. Remember that without peace, you cannot do anything new. You need stillness and peace to solve the problems that come your way. You need to think in an entirely new way about the problem you want to solve, and this is only possible when you have tranquility and peace. In modern life, we have many problems, and unfortunately, we do not enjoy peace. This is a real puzzle because without peace, we cannot solve problems. We need peace and must thoroughly investigate this matter. We need to discover what the main factor is that disrupts peace within and outside of us. We need to find out what causes conflict. It's time to fully understand, on all levels of the mind, the countless contradictions within us because that is the main factor of discord and conflict. By fully understanding the cause of an illness, we can heal the sick. By deeply knowing the cause of conflict, we can end the conflict, and the result is peace. Within us and around us, there are thousands of contradictions that create conflicts. What exists within us also exists in society because, as we have said so many times, society is an extension of the individual. If there is contradiction and conflict within us, it also exists in society. If the individual lacks peace, so does society, and in these conditions, all peace propaganda is, in fact, entirely useless. If we analyze ourselves judiciously, we will discover that there is a constant state of affirmation and negation within us, what we want to be and what we really are, what is a problem and what we want it to be. When we have a problem of any kind, whether moral, economic, religious, family, marital, etc., our first reaction is to think about it, resist it, deny it, accept it, explain it, etc. It's necessary to understand that no problem can be solved with mental anguish, contradiction, worry, and conflict. The best way to react to a problem is silence, I mean the silence of the mind. This silence comes by not thinking about the problem. This silence comes when we understand that nothing is resolved with conflict and contradictions. This silence is not a special gift from anyone or a certain type of ability. It cannot be cultivated, it comes by itself. It comes when we understand that no problem is solved by resisting it, accepting it, denying it, affirming it, or explaining it, etc. From mental silence arises intelligent action, intuitive and wise action that will solve the problem no matter how difficult it may be. This intelligent action is not the result of any reaction. When we perceive the fact, the problem, when we realize it without affirming it, denying it, or explaining it, when we neither accept it nor reject it, then comes the silence of the mind. Intuition flourishes in silence. From silence springs the intelligent action that completely resolves the problem. Only in mental stillness and silence is there freedom and wisdom. Mental conflict is destructive and ruinous. Mental conflict results from opposing desires, we want and do not want, we desire this and that. We are in constant contradiction, and this is conflict, indeed. The constant contradiction within us is due to the struggle of opposing desires. There is a constant negation of one desire by another desire, one effort is overtaken by another effort. There is no permanent desire in the human being, every desire is fleeting, it seeks one job and then, once obtained, it desires another job. The employee wants to be a manager, and the priest wants to be a bishop. No one is satisfied with what they have. Everyone is filled with unsatisfied desires and seeks fulfillment. Life is an absurd succession of fleeting and vain desires. When we deeply understand that all the desires in life are fleeting and vain, when we understand that the physical body is generated in sin and its destiny is the decay of the grave, then true peace of mind arises from that profound understanding, and contradiction and conflict disappear. Only a mind at peace can solve problems. Peace resides in the silence of the mind. Contradiction arises from stubbornness, when the mind clings to a single desire, when it wants its desire to be fulfilled at all costs, there is bound to be conflict. If we carefully observe two people discussing a problem, we can confirm that each person clings to their desire, each person wants their desire to be satisfied, and this, naturally, creates mental conflict. When we resolutely see the vanity of desires, when we understand that desire is the cause of our conflicts and bitterness, true peace comes. Practice: sit in a comfortable armchair or lie on your bed, close your eyes. Then focus on your inner self, study yourself, investigate your desires, your contradictions. You need to understand what your contradictory desires are so that you can know the causes of your internal conflicts. With knowledge of the causes of mental conflict comes peace of mind. Practice this simple exercise daily. You need to know yourself. Lesson 8. Alcoholism. This vice has three perfectly defined aspects: A. Initiation, B. Intoxication, C. Death. Initiation. Some people start on this terrible path in their teenage years, others in their youth, others in their maturity, and a very few in old age. There are many causes that lead people into alcoholism. Adolescents who start on this dreadful path do so with the intention of feeling like a complete man. They have a false concept of manhood, believing that being a man means being a drunkard, smoker, fornicator, adulterer, etc. The young person falls into the barbaric vice of alcohol, seduced by their friends or embittered by their sufferings. Many times, a love disappointment or a difficult economic situation is the basic reason for embarking on the fatal path of alcoholism. Mature individuals who enter this horrible path of alcohol do so, as always, motivated by the spring of their own bitterness, perhaps the death of a loved one, a love disappointment, a divorce, the loss of their job and fortune, etc. With the first drinks, the human body rebels. Initially, the body is not yet intoxicated, and it's clear that it strongly rejects the harmful ingredient of alcohol, to which it is not accustomed. Vomiting, stomach discomfort after heavy drinking, etc., are symptoms the body uses to eliminate the harmful substance. The body's struggle is often intense, but the malicious will aims to overcome it and succeeds. There is no drunkard without their moral tragedy. The already intoxicated drunkard knows how to keep this tragedy very secret. The drunkard who is just starting the vice always externalizes their tragedy, but when they realize that people don't understand them, they prefer to remain silent. Intoxication. Once the defenses of the human body are overcome, alcoholic intoxication sets in. When reaching this second stage, the body can no longer feel well without alcohol. An alcoholic doctor can no longer perform surgery without their favorite drink, their pulse trembles, and the outcome is usually poor. A merchant can no longer conduct business without alcohol, they feel timid and nervous and fail. A laborer becomes incapable of working without alcohol, they feel weak. Alcohol becomes a necessity for the intoxicated body. The intoxicated person drinks and drinks, driven by the secret spring of their moral tragedy. Some drunks eat and drink, these last longer. Others do not eat to, they say, avoid losing the intoxication, these die quickly. Food favors the whole digestive process, but the lack of food leaves the body completely defenseless, the result is a quick death. Death. Every alcoholic intoxication concludes with death. Demise can come from ulcers, hepatitis, liver cirrhosis, or, in general, any adverse condition of the liver, stomach, etc. Clinically, it has been observed that the drunks who live the longest are those who eat while drinking, and those who live the least are those who drink and do not eat while drinking. The death of the drunkard is very horrible. In clinics and hospitals, they become very nervous due to the lack of alcohol. They cry, shout, demand the bottle of alcohol, their desperation is horrifying. Some die vomiting blood, others with terrible bloody diarrhea, etc. Psychology of the drunkard. The fully intoxicated drunkard spends everything on vice. When the intoxicated person has nothing left to spend, they become a beggar, thief, swindler, or at best, just a beggar for alcohol, an alcoholic beggar. The intoxicated person loses all sense of honor, dignity, responsibility, etc., and is only interested in one thing in life, drinking. Alcohol becomes a vital and fundamental need for the intoxicated person. That's all. Serious matters of life have no value for the alcoholic. They are completely irresponsible. The intoxicated person is immoral in the fullest sense of the word. Dignity, honor, unwavering honesty, moral responsibility, one's word, virtue, etc., have absolutely no importance for the alcoholic. The hardened drunkard laughs at all these human qualities and even feels infinitely superior to all their peers. Campaign against alcohol. The real and effective campaign against alcohol is carried out by explaining all the details of this horrible vice's three defined aspects. These three aspects of the path of alcohol, initiation, intoxication, and death, should be emphasized in the home, in schools, universities, academies, temples, lodges, ashrams, sanctuaries, etc. That is the best way to conduct an effective campaign against alcoholism. Prohibition laws that prohibit the sale of alcohol are useless because drunks cunningly find ways to manufacture intoxicating drinks clandestinely. This does more harm than good to society. Only creative understanding can save people from falling into this horrible and terrifying vice. The audio-visual teaching system is wonderful for combating the vice of alcohol. The home. True education begins at home. Parents who drink set a bad example for their children and lead them down the fatal path of ruin. Children should be taught in their homes what this horrible vice is, the 3 aspects of this horrendous path, etc. This type of teaching, accompanied by a good example, is fundamental in preventing new generations from falling into the vice of alcohol. What is well learned at home is never forgotten. Meditation and drunkenness. Meditation and drunkenness are the opposite poles of the same force. Meditation is positive. Alcoholic intoxication is negative. The Rosicrucian Gnostic must drink the wine of meditation from the sacred cup of concentration. It is necessary to stay away from the negative aspect. It is necessary not to fall into the negative aspect of the mind. The vice of alcohol belongs to the negative aspect of the mind. The drunkard plunges into the atomic hells of nature and is lost in the abyss. It is better to drink from the wine of meditation in the sacred cup of thought concentration. Concentrate your thoughts on your inner God. Meditate deeply on it for hours. This way, we will reach samadhi, the ineffable ecstasy. Then, we can converse with the gods and enter the great mysteries of nature. This is better than delirium tremens, which allows the drunkard to enter the atomic hells of nature to consort with the demons of the abyss. The visions of delirium tremens of drunks are truly real, what they see in their visions actually exists. They see larvae, demons, and horrible monsters that truly exist in the atomic hells of the universal nature. They penetrate the abyss and see the beings of the abyss, wicked beings that live in the atomic hells of nature. Alcoholic larvae. Every human being carries an atomic atmosphere perceptible to clairvoyance. These larvae live in the 4th dimension. By the way, modern physics has begun to acknowledge the 4 coordinates, the 4th dimension, the 4th dimension. The drunkard carries alcoholic larvae in their ultrasensitive atmosphere, which stimulate them to the vice that gave them life, urging them to drink. These larvae only disintegrate with the smoke of sulfur. Osmotherapy. Perfumes combined with mental strength constitute a marvelous system of healing. Alcoholics can be cured by wisely combining these 2 elements. Indication: do you have a loved one who is a victim of alcoholism? When they are asleep, grasp their right hand with yours. Make them smell a delightful perfume, a rose extract, and then, with a very soft voice, talk to them as if they were awake. Advise them, explain in great detail what the horrible vice of alcohol is. Remember that when the body sleeps, the ego leaves the body and travels through the 4th dimension. The words you say to the sleeping person reach their eardrum, then the sensory center of the brain, and are transmitted to the ego, even when it is far from the physical body. Upon awakening, the ego returns to the physical body, and if they do not remember what you said, you can be sure that everything you said has remained in the subconscious of your loved one. These words gradually have their effect, and eventually, the patient is cured of the horrible vice of alcohol. Practice. Lie down and remain quietly in your bed. Open your arms and legs to the right and left to form the flaming star of 5 points. Relax your muscles well. The relaxation process is easy when combined with imagination. Practice the relaxation exercise as indicated in Lesson 2. Mental relaxation. After achieving physical body relaxation, it is necessary to relax the mind. Mental relaxation is also achieved with the help of imagination. Observe all the thoughts that come to your mind, all the memories that assail you, all the worries, etc. Study them to understand their origin. The study of all this will reveal many things to you, make you aware of your faults, errors, etc. You will thus understand how yourself, your ego, works. Analyze each fault. Try to understand each fault at all levels of the mind. Study each thought, memory, or emotion that assails you. Understand each thought. Then imagine a deep abyss. Throw each studied thought, memory, worry, etc., into that abyss. This way, your mind will be still and silent. In the stillness and silence of the mind, you can see and hear the inner being. It is the inner master. It is your inner God. Concentration. When the mind has achieved absolute stillness and silence, you can concentrate on the inner being. This concentration is done with the help of prayer. Pray to the inner being. Try to converse with the inner being. Remember that praying is talking to God. You can pray without formulas, meaning, talk to God, tell Him what your heart feels. Meditation, those who achieve perfect concentration can meditate on their inner God. Reflect on your inner God, identify with Him, live in Him. Contemplation, those who learn to calm the mind, concentrate the mind, and pray, can practice perfect meditation and reach the heights of inner contemplation. When you reach these heights, you are in ecstasy. You can converse face to face with the ineffable gods, study the wonders of the infinite cosmos, and travel through the infinite in spirit and soul. In this state of ecstasy, the physical body sleeps and is left behind. Now you will understand why it is beneficial to practice these exercises when you are sleepy. Sleep is a power that must be used to achieve ecstasy consciously. Lesson 9. Universal Mind. Social coexistence is necessarily based on the functionalities of the mind. It is necessary to deeply explore the various levels of the mind. The sphere of thought where man lives is never enclosed within the limited circumference of the skull, as the ignorant generally suppose, even the educated ignorant of the world. If such a man existed, as these people believe, he would certainly be the most unfortunate man in the world. A man with thought enclosed within the skull could not see or perceive anything, he would be a complete idiot living in the deepest darkness. This unfortunate creature could not see the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth we live on, people, things, or light. Nothing that exists would exist in the mind of such a man. This is explained by the fact that a man can perceive nothing that does not pre-exist in his own mentality. Don Immanuel Kant said in his Critique of Pure Reason, the external is the internal. The entire universe exists in the cosmic mind. The mental sphere of each person extends throughout the cosmos and reaches the farthest stars. This is why we can see, hear, and feel everything that is created. This is why we can see the farthest stars. Our thought is not enclosed in the skull. Our thought extends throughout the cosmos. Our thought penetrates everywhere, worlds, suns, people, and things, everything is within the thought of every man. The mind is universal energy. The mind vibrates and sparkles in everything that is created. The brain is not the mind. The brain is only a receiving center, a radio telegraph office that receives messages from the mind. The brain does not think. It is the mind that thinks, and it is not the brain. Religions say that the human soul has a body of flesh and bone. The Theosophists maintain that the soul has, in addition to the body of flesh and bone, a mental body. All schools in the East and West dedicated to the study of occultism teach their students to handle the mental body. The soul enveloped in the mental body can transport itself at will to other planets and see what happens there. The entire universe is within the human mind. All minds are within all minds. We live mutually in the sphere of others' thoughts. The economic and social problems of each person live within every person, no one is separate from anyone. We are all within the mind of everyone. The beggar lives within the mind of the rich, and the latter within the mind of the beggar. We are all submerged in the ocean of universal mind. Imagination and will, the two poles of the mind are imagination and will. Imagination is feminine, and will is masculine. The key to success lies in imagination and will united in vibrant harmony. Mental action, the inventor conceives with his imagination, the telephone, the radio, the car, etc., and then with will, he shapes it, turns it into concrete facts. Parisian fashion designers dictate fashion as they conceive it in their imagination. Mental epidemics, if a man thinks, whether in a good or bad sense, the waves emanating from his mind reach the mental body of every individual. Mental waves spread everywhere. When the waves are filled with wisdom and love, they benefit all those who receive them. When the waves are impregnated with devotion and reverence for God, they bring peace and comfort to those who are suffering. Poisonous mental waves harm the minds of others. Waves of hatred, envy, greed, lust, pride, sloth, gluttony, etc., produce mental epidemics. Poisonous mental waves poison many weak minds with their radioactivity. The case of rebels without a cause is a good example of what mental epidemics are. Rebels without a cause have become a harmful and damaging plague. The cause of this mental epidemic must be sought in misused imagination. Movie theaters show films of bandits and gunmen, which are then imprinted in the minds of young people. Parents give their children toy guns, war cars, toy cannons, lead soldiers, toy machine guns, etc. Everything is strongly reflected in the imagination of children and adolescents. Magazines and stories of thieves and policemen, pornographic magazines, etc., follow. The result of all this is not long in coming, and soon the child, the adolescent, becomes a rebel without a cause, and later a thief, a professional bandit, a swindler, etc. Mental hygiene needs to be practiced. Preventive medicine is urgent. Cultivate wisdom and love. Pray a lot daily. Select works of art. We recommend good music, classical music, fine painting, works by Michelangelo, grand operas, etc. Avoid harmful spectacles for the mind, bloody spectacles like boxing, wrestling, bullfights, etc. This kind of entertainment produces mental epidemics. Take care of your mind, do not allow bad thoughts to enter the temple of your mind. Be pure in thought, word, and deed. Teach your children everything that is good, true, and beautiful. Origins of the universal mind. The great divine reality emerged from its own bosom in the dawn of this solar universe in which we live, move, and have our being. The great reality does not know itself, but when it contemplates itself in the living mirror of nature's great imagination, it then comes to know itself. In this way, a mental, vibratory activity is created, through which the great reality knows its infinite images that shine wondrously on the cosmic stage. This activity, emanating from the periphery and directed towards the center, is what is called universal mind. All beings live submerged in the infinite ocean of universal mind. Thus, we all live within one another. No one can be mentally separated. The heresy of separateness is the worst of heresies. The intellectual activity of the universal mind stems from a centripetal force, and as every action has a reaction, the centripetal force, upon encountering resistance at the center, reacts and creates a centrifugal activity called cosmic soul. This vibratory cosmic soul becomes a mediator between the center and the periphery, between the universal spirit of life and matter, between the great reality and its living images. A great master said, "The soul is the product of the centrifugal action of universal activity driven by the centripetal action of universal imagination." Terms: centrifugal is the force that tries to move away from the center. The force that goes from the center to the periphery. Centripetal is the force attracted to the center. The force flowing from the periphery to the center. Every individual can create a soul. When we know the technique of internal meditation, when we direct mental power to the interior of our own center, the resistance we find internally will cause its reaction, and the more vigorous the centripetal force we apply, the more vigorous the centrifugal force that forms. This is how we create the soul. In this way, the soul grows and expands. The strong and robust soul embodies and transforms the physical body, it transforms it into a more subtle and elevated matter, eventually turning it into a soul as well. Practice, learn to use your imagination and will, united in vibrant harmony. Lie on your bed or sit in a comfortable chair, imagine a well-known distant place, a house, a park, a street, a city, etc. Fall asleep with that image in your mind. When you are drowsy and have the image in your mind, realize that imagination, forget about the place where your body is, exert your willpower, and with full self-confidence, walk in the imagined place. Walk as if you were in flesh and blood in the imagined location. If the practice is done correctly, you will separate, and then your soul will transport to that place where you can see and hear everything that happens there. Appendix. The physical body is one of the wonderful instruments that humans possess to express themselves. Considering this body from a strictly physical perspective, it is what we could call a machine, with food as the fuel. Depending on the type of fuel used, the machine will work and serve as an instrument accordingly. Often, we find people who radiate an attitude of happiness, health, optimism, sympathy, love, etc. These people win the friendship of everyone, they possess an attracting force, an irresistible magnet. Others are weak and lack that wonderful magnet, they fail when they seek help from others, and when they own a business, their customers gradually leave them. Psychology has discovered that a person's character depends on their internal state. Character is not developed in the physical body, but it is expressed through it. If the physical body is not in good condition, our internal state cannot be efficiently expressed. It is essential for every person to nourish themselves sufficiently. When nutrition is imperfect, the blood weakens and becomes impoverished, and the cells also weaken. One of the best ways to obtain complete nutrition from regular food is to chew the food perfectly. Half-eaten foods lose a significant part of their nutritional value. Another important point is body hydration, the proper use of water for the benefit of the body. The minimum amount of water required daily is 2.5 liters. When water is scarce, certain glands cannot work efficiently, the body does not eliminate waste properly, the liver does not function well, etc. Vegetarian diet. Most people believe that a meal without meat is incomplete. Nothing is further from the truth because science has demonstrated that nutrition obtained from vegetables has greater sustaining power. All animals carry within themselves the poisons of putrefaction. Venous blood is filled with carbonic acid and other harmful substances. These harmful and repugnant substances are found everywhere in meat, and when we eat these foods, we fill our body with these toxins. There is ample evidence to show that a carnivorous diet stimulates ferocity. Let's observe the ferocity of predators and the cruelty of cannibals and compare it to the incredible strength and docility of cattle, elephants, and horses. However, we should not jump to the conclusion that everyone should stop eating meat altogether and switch to a vegetarian diet. It would be foolish for a person to change their usual diet, which they have been using for years and which nourishes them adequately. Eliminating meat from the diet of people accustomed to it would significantly undermine their health. The only safe way to proceed is to experiment and study things first. You must be very careful with your nutrition. We do not ask you to give up meat all at once, but we do warn you that when meat is consumed in large quantities, e.g., every day, it is like poison to the body. Dr. Arnaldo Krumheller, professor of medicine at the University of Berlin and a great Gnostic physician, argued that a person should consume only 20% of meat among their foods. We have found that some foods such as wheat, eggs, avocados, etc., can replace meat. Cereals, in general, are of great nutritional value. Cow's milk protein is wonderful. Soybean milk is very nutritious, and its chemical composition is similar to that of cow's milk. Foods should be used in a balanced way to provide the best nutrition. Avoid eating white bread. White flour is harmful and has no nutritional value. Eat dark bread, plantains, cornmeal, instead of white bread and white flour. Eat plenty of vegetables. Remember that vegetables are a rich source of nutrition. Vitamins are found in vegetables.